What?
Exactly.
On the internet, people have strong opinions?
You know.
Ladies, gentlemen, and Haradrim of all ages, it's been an incredibly interesting week when it comes to Diablo 4. The last couple of these videos, we've had Hollow filling in for me, but I'm back to cover the incredibly interesting moment that is us finally receiving an actual release date for the Gauntlet and the leaderboards, and then, well, losing that release date entirely almost immediately and going back to the drawing board. Among other things, of course, we'll discuss any conversations the developers have been having on social media, and then just the release of a new event on the Diablo 4 server just last night. First up then, let's start at the source of it all, which is this podcast from Xbox themselves, where they had a reasonably lengthy interview with Rod Ferguson, the general manager of all things Diablo related. So, you know, someone with theoretically a pretty reliable knowledge of what's coming to the game and the timelines around it. An important note is that this podcast was quite clearly released on January 25th. You can see it right there, at least in my time zone, so just a couple of days after the start of the season. And in all likelihood, it was actually recorded before the season launched itself, based on the discussions that are being had within it. On top of that, it also seems to be catered more towards people who aren't too aware of Diablo 4, or at least not Season 3 specifically, as half the interview is just sort of spent rounding up the basic concepts of the season again a couple of days after players already have their hands on it. The first actual new information then that comes up here is actually fairly major, which is in relation to the leaderboards and the gauntlets, and Rod's specific wording when he brings it up is, it's something that's not there today, but on February 13th, we are going to be updating the game and we're going to be releasing this feature. And it took a while before the community actually found this and spread the information around, but within hours of it becoming more common knowledge, this post was made on ye olde Twitter by Rod himself. Great seeing the excitement. Gauntlet and leaderboards are still on track for Season 3, but they're taking more time to polish things up with it. February 13th is no longer the release date as it was stated in the podcast, and as of right now, there is no actual release date set, but he did say that we'd get more details and the new actual release date soon as well. On top of this was reposted by Adam Fletcher, the Global Community Development Director, just saying that the new date will be soon, as well as a lot of info, tons of info in fact, about the update that it will be attached to, and just mentioning that the recording of the podcast was made prior to the decision of the date being pushed back for release, and I have to say, there's no confirmation here, just a personal theory based on the dates of things happening and the results of it all, but I think there is an extremely high probability that the delay on the release of Gauntlet and the leaderboards is related to the mass layoffs happening within Blizzard at the end of January. This podcast was likely recorded only a handful of days before these layoffs happened, at which point the update was probably on track for February 13th. Then the layoffs came down afterwards, so I think it's entirely possible that might have thrown them off a bit of their expected completion date, and say what you will about Season 3, about different mechanics you like or dislike, I definitely think there's a bit of compassion that we can give in times like this, where people's full-on livelihoods have been shaken up entirely, and give them at least a little bit of a break on this delay. Yes, it sucks, don't get me wrong, but it is at least understandable, right? That said, the other theory that fits here about this, and most likely it's actually a combination of both of these things together, is just that the developers are putting more of a focus on responding to the backlash about Season 3 in general than they were planning to require to do. So rather than all of the resources being on the Gauntlet and leaderboards like they were planning, and getting that out for the expected timing, a bunch of people instead had to break off from that to instead work on just fixing up and patching up Season 3, changing the values that needed to be changing, even adding in the whole Igneous core system and everything. I mean, pure numerical changes aren't the hardest thing to do really, but the addition of the whole Igneous core system was definitely an actual undertaking for them that required a bit of manpower and effort. All that to say, I'm not going to defend Blizzard if I don't think that they deserve to be defended about something, but if this delay is in fact the combined results of layoffs and them trying to improve things directly as a result of player feedback, I can definitely understand and at least accept that. That said, based on the other information that we've been getting from the developers, it seems like the Gauntlet and the leaderboards will actually be part of a larger update, not just those things themselves, which means we might even have some balance changes. The developers did mention in a recent campfire chat that they want to avoid making nerfs mid-season against anything that they don't have to, but buffs are totally on the table, they're totally allowed. And aside from that, we also have the expectation of the equivalent of the malignant unique rings that we had last season, an injection of actual gear into the season, reflecting familiar powers that we've used in previous seasons. That said, it does seem likely to me that the Gauntlet and leaderboards and our next set of special items are probably all going to be dropping together in one singular larger update. And from what we know, the devs are also working on other patches even before that point to continue to address the player concerns with the various mechanics of this season. We also have been told for a fact that this update will happen in Season 3. We will have the Gauntlet and leaderboards this season. It is not a delay like multiple months, just probably going to be a couple of weeks behind, with with the specific wording used being, it isn't a long delay. So we can at least look forward to the fact that it shouldn't be a massive wait for it at this point. I would honestly be surprised if it even takes into March based on the wording that they used. Past that, just a couple more things to talk about, a bit smaller. The first being that last week, the Vault of the Loom in World Tier 4 and trading were also both disabled in the game due to disconnection errors that were getting pretty widespread. But both of these have wound up re-enabled since we last talked about this, and from what I can tell from the community, the issues seem to have pretty much just been taken care of completely. They're completely gone. So as usual with this type of thing, I'm definitely frustrated that it happened in the first place, but at least it didn't take them like a week to fix. Outside of that then, and moving on to actual new things, yesterday we had the release of the Lunar Awakening holiday event into the game. Again, these holiday events are planned to essentially be one per season, one every 3 months, and they're really just a reason to drop some more cosmetics into the game and ideally also add some at least semi-interesting mechanics or change-ups to the game while active too. This time around we have the Lunar Awakening, for which the main game-changing mechanic is altering the way that a lot of shrines will work in the game, with shrines having a chance to be replaced by these lunar shrines instead, which give you 50% bonus experience and 30% bonus movement speed while active, as well as the normal shrine effects, which are also augmented to have more powerful effects than the standard versions of the shrines would. Alongside that, we also have the ability for a new affix to spawn on Nightmare Dungeon sigils, as well as vault sigils that are created during the event period, which will last until 10 AM Pacific time on the 20th of the month, so a solid 2 weeks from the start time. We'll have a full breakdown and guide on this event on the channel as well, all the rewards and how to actually effectively earn the ancestral favor as well, coming out in a couple of hours if you want more info on that. But that's all the basic info that you need to know really. And that just about does it for today then everyone. Really just a roundup of the whole leaderboards and Gauntlet release date mix-up, the way things have settled since then, some reasons why I think this might happen, and some speculation about how much longer we're likely to even wait, and then of course just confirmation on the reopening of Uber Malphas, along with just, hey, Lunar Awakening has started. I hope you've all enjoyed this then, and I wish you the best of luck in whatever grind you are planning to next take part in this game. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.